Every morning in the parking garage beneath a downtown office building, there is a man easing a beat-up 2011 Honda Civic into a narrow space like he has all the time in the world. The paint is faded, the rear bumper is dented, and next to the polished SUVs and luxury sedans driven by younger employees, his car looks like a leftover from another decade. People pass by and make quick judgments without even realizing it. They assume he is drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, one medical bill away from a financial disaster. What they do not know is that he has more than $4 million quietly working for him in index funds and investment accounts. His home is fully paid off, and the money for his children's education has already been set aside. He does not drive that old car because he has to. He drives it because he understands something most people spend half their lives missing. He works because he still enjoys having a place to go, not because he needs the paycheck to survive. If he wanted to walk into the office tomorrow, hand in a resignation letter, and disappear into a slower, calmer life, he could do it without panic or regret. That old Civic is not an accident. It is not a sign of failure. It is a decision, and more than that, it is a strategy. That idea sounds strange at first, because we are trained to believe the opposite. We are taught that looking rich is a sign that you are winning. That expensive taste proves success. That visible comfort is the reward for hard work. But one of the most famous personal finance studies ever published found something deeply inconvenient for that story. The truly wealthy, the kind of people who build lasting net worth instead of borrowing status, often live far more modestly than the people trying hardest to impress everyone around them. They are less interested in signaling wealth and more interested in protecting it, growing it, and keeping it from slipping away through 1,000 flashy purchases that feel good for a month and cost a fortune over 20 years. That is the uncomfortable split most people never want to talk about. One group looks rich, the other group becomes rich, and those two groups are rarely the same people. Researchers who spent years studying self-made millionaires kept finding the same pattern again and again. Most of them did not inherit huge fortunes. Most of them did not live in mansions, rotate through exotic cars, or chase the kind of lifestyle social media tells us should be the goal. Many stayed in the same house for decades, bought practical vehicles from brands like Toyota and Honda, and chose neighborhoods filled with ordinary working people instead of gated communities designed to display success as loudly as possible. At first glance, that seems backwards. You would think that the people with the most money would be the ones spending the most aggressively on the symbols of money. But the deeper logic is actually very simple. People who quietly build wealth tend to see every dollar as a worker. They know that money has a job, and the job is not to entertain strangers or earn nods of approval in parking lots. The job of money is to buy freedom later. So when they look at a luxury car, a designer watch, or a beautifully branded status purchase, they do not just see the price tag. They see the years of compound growth that money could have produced if left alone. They see the opportunity cost hiding behind the shine. That way of thinking changes everything. A watch that costs $10,000 does not just cost $10,000. It may cost future investment returns, flexibility, peace of mind, and the ability to say no when life becomes toxic or unstable. A luxury car payment is not just a car payment. It can also be a delayed retirement, a thinner emergency fund, a heavier level of stress, and a long-term commitment to looking successful, even if your finances are quietly bleeding underneath the surface. The people who understand this are not stingy. They are strategic. They have simply realized that paying a premium to look rich is one of the most expensive, emotional habits a person can develop. There is also a powerful psychological engine behind all of this. More than a century ago, economists and sociologists began describing a behavior now known as conspicuous consumption. It means buying things not mainly for their usefulness, but for what they communicate to other people. That is why luxury brands are so effective. They are not really selling fabric, metal, leather, or horsepower. They are selling a message. They are selling prestige, identity, and social positioning. The product is only part of the purchase. The rest is theater. A $1,000 bag and a $10,000 bag can both carry your belongings just fine. but only one is designed to broadcast a very specific story about the person wearing it. The problem is that living inside that story becomes financially dangerous very quickly. People who start tying self-worth to visible symbols of success often lose control of the actual system underneath their money. They spend to keep up, to compete, to reassure themselves, to avoid looking behind, to feel admired, or simply to protect an image they have created. But the more aggressively you buy status, the less room you leave for the slow and boring behaviors that produce real wealth. Budgeting is not glamorous. Investing consistently is not glamorous. Driving a reliable older car is not glamorous. Staying in a perfectly good home instead of upgrading to impress your peers is not glamorous. Yet those are exactly the decisions that create durable financial strength. And that strength matters more than the performance. Because at the end of the day, the goal is not to look expensive. The goal is to become secure enough that life cannot bully you as easily. Real wealth means having options. It means being able to leave a job that is crushing your spirit. It means weathering a recession without panic. It means facing a medical issue, a family emergency, or a sudden change in income without feeling like the floor has vanished beneath you. A person who looks modest but has real assets is standing on much stronger ground than someone who appears successful while financing an entire identity through debt and fragile cash flow. That is why looking a little poorer than you really are can become one of the smartest financial decisions you ever make. It protects your future while everyone else is busy decorating their present. Once you start seeing money this way, something else becomes clear. Looking wealthy does not just cost you financially, it also makes you more visible in ways that can quietly work against you. In a world where information moves fast and people are constantly observing each other through social media and daily interactions, appearing rich can attract attention you never asked for. That attention does not always come in the form of admiration. Sometimes it shows up as pressure, expectation, or even risk. Think about how people behave around someone they believe has money. When you walk into a group dressed in obvious luxury, the assumptions begin instantly. You are expected to pick up the check more often. You are judged more harshly if you do not. People start measuring your generosity, your lifestyle, and even your character based on what they think you can afford. That creates a subtle but constant tax on your behavior. You are no longer just living your life. You are performing a version of it for others, whether you want to or not. There is also a more serious side to this visibility. Financial crime has become increasingly sophisticated, and people who appear to have money often become prime targets. Scammers, identity thieves, and even casual opportunists tend to focus their attention where the perceived reward is highest. The more signals you send about your financial status, the easier it becomes for someone to build a profile around you. They can study your habits, your routines, your relationships, and even your emotional patterns. Over time, that information can be used in ways that are difficult to predict and even harder to defend against. On the other hand, there is a quiet advantage in blending in. When you do not advertise your wealth, you move through the world with less friction. You are less likely to be singled out, less likely to be pressured, and less likely to become a target. You gain a kind of freedom that has nothing to do with money itself. It is the freedom of being underestimated, of being left alone, of not having to constantly defend or justify your position. That invisibility can act like a shield, protecting not just your assets but your peace of mind. This idea extends beyond safety and into everyday interactions. When people do not immediately categorize you based on wealth, your relationships tend to feel more genuine. Conversations are less transactional. Invitations are less loaded with expectation. You are more likely to be valued for your personality, your humor, your perspective, and your presence rather than for what you can provide financially. Over time, that creates a different kind of social environment, one that is lighter, more relaxed, and less driven by comparison. There is also a subtle advantage in negotiation and decision-making. When your financial position is not obvious, you have more flexibility. People cannot easily anchor their expectations around what they think you can afford. Whether you are buying a car, negotiating a contract, or discussing a deal, you are less likely to be priced based on perception rather than reality. In many situations, appearing average can actually give you leverage. It keeps the focus on the value of the transaction instead of your ability to pay. All of this ties back to a deeper principle about how wealth actually works. Building financial security is not just about earning more. It is about protecting what you earn and allowing it to grow over time without unnecessary interference. Every time you spend money to create an impression, you are interrupting that process. You are taking something that could have compounded quietly in the background and converting it into a short-term experience that fades quickly. The trade-off is rarely worth it when you look at it over a longer horizon. There is a concept in psychology called hedonic adaptation, which describes how quickly we get used to new things. A new car feels exciting for a few weeks. A new phone feels special for a few months. A luxury purchase creates a brief spike of satisfaction, but that feeling does not last. Soon it becomes normal and the baseline shifts. Then the mind starts looking for the next upgrade, the next signal, the next hit of validation. This cycle can continue indefinitely, each step costing more than the last, without ever delivering a lasting sense of contentment. Meanwhile, the money that was spent on those upgrades is gone. It is not working for you anymore. It is not generating returns, not building resilience, not expanding your options. It has been converted into something temporary, while the opportunity for long-term growth has been permanently reduced. That is the quiet tragedy of status-driven spending. It feels powerful in the moment, but over time it erodes the very foundation that real confidence is built on. In contrast, when you choose to live slightly below what you can afford, something different begins to happen. You create space. Space in your budget, space in your mind space in your future. Your investments start to grow. Your safety net becomes stronger, and your dependence on external validation begins to fade. You are no longer chasing the feeling of looking successful. You are building the reality of being secure. And that reality, once it takes hold, is far more stable than any image you could project. This is why the man with the old car is not missing out. He is playing a different game entirely. While others are optimizing for appearance, he is optimizing for freedom. While others are reacting to social pressure, he is responding to a long-term plan. And while others are spending to be seen, he is quietly building something that does not need to be seen to be real. At some point, this shift in thinking forces you to ask a harder question. What is success actually supposed to feel like when no one else is watching? Because if your definition depends on being noticed, admired, or envied, then it will always be unstable. It will depend on other people's opinions, and those opinions change faster than any financial plan can keep up with. But if success is defined by control over your own time, your own choices, and your own stress levels, then the entire equation begins to change in your favor. This is where the idea of quiet wealth becomes powerful. It is not about hiding everything or pretending to have less than you do out of fear. It is about removing the need to constantly prove anything. When you stop spending energy on signaling, you can redirect that energy toward building something that actually supports your life. Your money starts working in the background instead of being pushed into the spotlight. And over time, that background work becomes the main source of your confidence. There is also an interesting effect this has on your behavior at work and in business. When you are financially stretched, every decision carries pressure. You need the next paycheck, the next bonus, the next opportunity, and that need can limit your ability to think clearly. You hesitate to speak up, to negotiate, to walk away from bad situations, because the cost feels too high. But when your finances are stable, that pressure disappears. You are still motivated, but you are no longer desperate. And that difference shows up in everything you do. People who are not financially desperate tend to make better decisions. They can take calculated risks, say no when something does not align with their values, and focus on long-term outcomes instead of short-term survival. Ironically, this often leads to better opportunities and higher income over time, not because they are chasing more aggressively, but because they are operating from a position of strength instead of fear. Their calm becomes an advantage, and their independence becomes a form of leverage. This principle also shows up in family dynamics, especially when it comes to raising children. When wealth is constantly displayed and easily accessed, It can create confusion about effort and reward. If everything appears effortless, it becomes harder to appreciate the process behind it. Some families unintentionally weaken the next generation by making success look automatic. The intention is often good, but the result can be a lack of discipline, a blurred sense of responsibility, and a dependence on external support. In contrast, families that practice a more understated approach tend to create a different environment. When children grow up seeing normal routines, moderate spending, and consistent effort, they are more likely to develop their own sense of capability. They learn to solve problems, to manage money, and to build something on their own. Support is still there, but it is strategic rather than constant. It shows up when it is needed, not as a replacement for effort, but as a reinforcement of it. Over time, this creates resilience instead of reliance. There is also a quieter emotional benefit that often goes unnoticed. When your lifestyle is not built around constant upgrades and comparisons, your internal state becomes more stable. You are less affected by what others are doing, less reactive to trends, and less anxious about keeping up. Your satisfaction is not tied to the next purchase or the next visible milestone. Instead, it comes from a steady sense of progress and security. That kind of stability is difficult to buy directly, but it is a natural byproduct of disciplined financial behavior. Another layer to this is how people adapt to pleasure. When you continually raise your standard of living to match your income, you reset your expectations without realizing it. What once felt like a luxury becomes normal, and what is normal soon feels insufficient. This creates a cycle where more is required just to feel the same level of satisfaction. But when you keep your lifestyle grounded while your income grows, you create a gap between what you earn and what you need. That gap is where freedom lives. Freedom in this context is not about quitting your job tomorrow or escaping responsibility. It is about having options. It is about knowing that you can make a change if you need to, that you are not trapped by your expenses, and that your future is not dependent on maintaining a certain image. It is the ability to step away from situations that drain you, to invest in opportunities that matter to you, and to live with a sense of control rather than constant reaction. When you look back over a longer period of time, the difference between these two approaches becomes impossible to ignore. Two people can earn the same income for years and end up in completely different places. One spends aggressively to match a lifestyle that looks impressive from the outside. The other spends carefully, invests consistently, and allows time to do most of the heavy lifting. At first, the difference is almost invisible, but over a decade or two, it becomes dramatic. This is the part most people underestimate. Compound growth is slow at the beginning and then accelerates. It rewards patience, consistency, and restraint, all of which are difficult to maintain in a culture that constantly encourages consumption. But once it starts to build momentum, it creates a level of security that is very hard to replicate through income alone. It becomes a quiet engine working in your favor, independent of your daily effort. So when you see someone living modestly despite having the ability to spend more, it is not necessarily a limitation. It may be a deliberate choice to protect that engine. It may be a decision to prioritize long-term stability over short-term validation. And it may be a reminder that real wealth is not about how much you can show, but about how much you can keep, grow, and rely on when it truly matters. When you zoom out and look at the long game, the contrast becomes almost impossible to ignore. Imagine two people starting from a similar place, earning roughly the same income year after year. One chooses to live slightly below their means, setting aside a meaningful portion of their income and investing it consistently with patience. The other chooses to upgrade their lifestyle every time their income increases, chasing a higher standard of living that looks impressive, but leaves very little room for growth. In the beginning, their lives may look similar, and in some cases, the second person may even appear more successful. But time has a way of revealing what appearances try to hide. After 20 or 25 years, the difference is no longer subtle. The person who invested consistently now has a portfolio that has been compounding quietly in the background, growing not just from contributions but from accumulated returns. Their financial life feels stable, flexible, and resilient. The other person may still have a good income, but their net worth tells a different story. Much of what they earned has already been spent, converted into depreciating assets or experiences that no longer exist. The gap between them is not just financial. It is emotional, psychological, and deeply practical. This is why the idea of looking modest is not about deprivation. It is about clarity. It is about understanding that every financial decision has a long shadow, even if that shadow is invisible in the moment. When you choose not to upgrade something you can technically afford, you are not losing. You are redirecting that money toward a future version of yourself who will need it more than you need another upgrade today. That is a quiet form of discipline that does not get celebrated, but it creates real results. There is also a deeper redefinition of success happening here. Success is not the ability to accumulate visible symbols. It is the ability to build a life that does not require constant financial strain to maintain. It is waking up without the anxiety of looming payments, without the pressure to keep performing at a certain level just to sustain your lifestyle. It is having enough margin in your life to think clearly, to rest, to make decisions based on values instead of urgency. That kind of success does not attract attention, but it creates a level of peace that attention can never provide. If you go back to the image of that man in the parking garage, the one with the old Civic, his situation starts to look very different now. What once seemed like a sign of limitation becomes a symbol of control. He is not trying to impress anyone because he does not need to. His choices are not driven by comparison, but by intention. He has already made the trade that most people avoid. He gave up the need to look rich in order to become financially free. And there is something quietly powerful about that decision. It protects him from unnecessary risk, filters his relationships, and allows him to move through the world without carrying the weight of other people's expectations. It gives him the ability to make bold decisions when necessary, not because he is reckless, but because he is prepared. That preparation is invisible, but it is real. It is built over years of small, consistent choices that most people overlook because they are not exciting enough to post or talk about. In the end, the cost of this strategy is surprisingly low. You may be underestimated from time to time. People may assume you have less than you do, or question your choices without understanding them. But that is not a weakness. In many ways, it is part of the advantage. When you are not constantly being measured by external standards, you are free to focus on internal progress. You are no longer performing for an audience that was never going to determine your future anyway. The real goal was never to impress strangers or keep up with trends. The real goal is freedom. Freedom to choose how you spend your time, where you direct your energy, and what kind of life you build over the long term. Every decision you make with your money either moves you closer to that freedom or further away from it. And sometimes, the smartest move is the one that looks the least impressive on the surface. So the next time you feel the pull to upgrade something just to match the world around you, pause for a moment and ask a different question. Not what will people think, but what will this cost me in the future? Because real wealth has never been about what you display. It has always been about what you keep, what you grow, and what you protect over time. And once you understand that, you realize that looking a little poorer than you really are might be one of the most powerful financial decisions you ever make.